Hey guys, welcome back to the Birds Party channel. Today I'm going to share with you our first DIY craft project of the year, and I'm so excited because we're going to be making these air dry clay knitted, they're not actually knitted, but they're knitted style air dry clay vases, and we're actually turning some trash into treasure. Yes, you guessed it, we are using some of these old metal cans, you know, like vegetable cans that you can get from your trash to turn into some beautiful treasure to decorate your home. And here basically I'm going to start painting my cans, and obviously the cans need to be clean and dry for this project, and you can use any size cans that you like, and I'm using just old standard, you know, cans that you can get from your kitchen. You know, this one was actually used for vegetables, and you can use any old can. Obviously make sure that they are clean and they are, you know, safe to use, so there are no sharp bits or anything sticking out like metal parts or anything like that. And you can use any color paint as well. I'm using acrylic white paint because I'm using white air dry clay, but once again you can use any color clay that you want. You can use black or even terracotta color, which is really trendy for a boho style kind of decor, but I'm using white to match my clay. And I must tell you guys that if you're going to embark on this project, that you have to do this painting and let the paint dry obviously before you start working with the clay. And this painting process is optional, but it will allow the once you start playing with the clay on top, that you won't be able to see the metal part. Obviously if you don't have any paint at home and you just want to go ahead and start putting the clay on top of the metal can, you can, but you may still see some of the metal peeking through underneath the clay. Hopefully I'm making myself understood, but you see what I mean soon, because the clay is kind of like has a knitted pattern. You might be able to see the metal peeking through, but no big deal. And don't forget to paint the top of your can as well. Let that dry before you work on it. And if you are going to be doing this project, because we're using air dry clay, you have to do it in one sitting. So once your paint is dry and you decide to work with the clay, you have to finish one whole vase in one sitting. So you can't just start building some of the vase and just come back and let the clay dry. So because we're using self-hardening air dry clay, it's a very susceptible to dry. So basically, to work with the clay, we're going to be making some of the strands to look like a knitted fabric or knitted jumper, if you like. So I'm cutting the clay here into equal pieces. You can use a pair of scales to measure out or weigh out the pieces of clay, so you have roughly kind of the same amount of clay used for each strand, and you see why in a minute. And to keep your clay moist and prevent it from drying too quickly, I like to spray a Ziploc bag or like a plastic wrap with some water and just keep the clay in there whilst I work with it, and take out the bits that I'm going to use for each strand one at a time. So I cut out my cubes, about 1-inch cubes, as you saw. It wasn't particularly precise, but it was roughly the same size, so that you don't have to, you know, to measure. But if you want, take out a pair of scales and measure out the exact same amount in weight of the clay, so that you have roughly the same amount for each strand. And once you have a little cube of clay, you work and roll it out on a surface like I'm doing here, like a big long sausage. Maybe there's a specific clay or pottery term for this, but you make a really long sausage, and mine was about 30 to 35 centimeters in length and about 1 centimeter thick for each rope. But once again, you can vary the thickness depending on what kind of look you're going for. You can make thinner ropes, or you can make thicker ropes, and I just use a ruler to kind of measure out very roughly. I wasn't very precise at all, but just to give me a guideline, so I didn't have some strands that were too thick or too thin. And once you've made a long strand, you're just going to fold it in half and just going to twist it very simply, as I'm doing here. And make sure obviously that you're working on a surface that doesn't pick up any lint or any hairs or any like bits of grit or anything like that, because you want to work with the clay that's nice and moist and that doesn't pick up any, you know, any imperfections, and that you have a vase that's nice and clean. Once you've done that, you're going to apply it to the surface of your vase or your tin can, and you're going to press the ends, as I'm doing here, to adhere it to the surface. And you're going to carry on doing that, all the strands all the way along, and just pressing the first strand to the next one, making sure that they're nice tight. That's why we painted the cans, as you can see, so that you don't get to see the metal underneath, and all you see is the white to match your clay. And that's basically it. And you're going to do that all the way around the can, making sure that the strands are nice, secure, side by side, and pushing them to create like a knitted pattern and you're going to do that all the way around your can, and you can vary the size of the cans, and you're going to push the ends together so that they kind of gel or glue the two strands together, and they seal the clay in place and onto the can as well, and onto each of the strands. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here, and that makes a little bit of sense. And you're going to do that all the way around your can in one sitting, so don't let your clay dry too much, and don't worry about any imperfections or any cracks that you can see on the clay. At the end, you can go in with your wet fingers. Obviously the clay will still be dry at this stage, still wet at this stage I should say, and any little cracks that you can see on the clay, you can use your fingers with a little bit of water and smooth it out. And if you want, at the end, you can roll out another piece of clay a little bit thinner if you wanted to create a little lip for your vase, and there you have it. Voila, that's all it takes. And you can vary the sizes of the tin cans to create different sizes of vases to use for anything that you like. I've used mine to decorate for flowers for spring, and to decorate my home now that Christmas is gone but still winter, and I love how they turned out. Hope you guys enjoyed these ideas, and please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and let me know that you like this kind of content. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.